Corey Davis's sudden retirement from the NFL has left the New York Jets with a gap in the wide receiver room. How can we address this void left by Corey Davis, and what's the best way to move forward? What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and today we're going to be going over 4 options, realistic options, and then 3 kind of unrealistic options of players that the New York Jets can go after in the trade market to help replace the value and the production and all of the things that Corey Davis provided to this team in multiple different assets. The reality is Corey Davis was wide receiver 2 for this team, and it wasn't just in terms of his production, but it was more in terms of his total skill set. Corey Davis was a big-bodied receiver who was a red zone target and absolutely phenomenal in the run game. All things that we know that Hackett values in an offensive scheme, but more importantly, plays into what Aaron Rodgers likes to do in the passing game more in terms of the run blocking. Aaron Rodgers loves to throw the balls at or behind the line of scrimmage. He did that 35% of the time last year with Green Bay and has done that at a really, really high rate his entire career. And the idea behind that is something that I talked about on the Wacky Wednesday show on Jets Lounge, is that Aaron Rodgers likes to do, I don't even like calling it an RPO because they're not really RPOs. They are designed run plays that Aaron Rodgers audibles out of if he sees a look that he likes. We know how quickly he can get the ball out of his hands, and if he sees 2-3 wide receivers on one side and maybe the cornerbacks are far apart, he likes to get that quick throw to a fast wide receiver and have 2 big-bodied wide receivers upfield blocking because he knows that's an easy 8 to 12 yards every single time. Not only is it easy yardage, but it's safe, leading to him not throwing interceptions. It is a massive skill that Aaron Rodgers provides to this team. Now, the reality is that Corey Davis provided all of those things. He was a great run blocker. He was a great red zone target, and he was a great wide receiver in his own right. And when I went to go look at what the New York Jets can do, there is this group of Jets fans out there that say, you know what, we should just give the opportunity to one of the undrafted free agents that is currently on the roster. And I get that. Jason Brownlee, I love that kid. There's a meme going around right now where I'm going to keep going on this until I'm wrong, which I know I'm going to be wrong, which is Jason Brownlee for Offensive Rookie of the Year. But that is taking a massive risk in such an important year with an unknown commodity in a wide receiver room that's really lacking depth outside of Garrett Wilson. So if the New York Jets can address the depth issue while also keeping these undrafted free agents, that might be the best way to go about it. And after scouring the free agent market, there is not a single free agent wide receiver that is worth anything right now. So the only way to do that is to go through the trade markets. And there are 4 realistic targets and 3 unrealistic targets that the New York Jets can go after. And they split up into 2 different camps. There are your superstars, wide receiver 1s, tandems with Garrett Wilsons. Those are the unrealistic options. We'll get those to the end of the video. And then you have the guys that are going to replace Corey Davis's production, but not ability, right? So your 800, 900, 1,000-yard receivers that might be still out there that you can come in, but they won't be red zone targets. They won't be good in the run game. They won't be, those not on the stat sheet things that Corey Davis did. Or you can say, you know what, let's go get guys that are good in the not stat sheet things, in the run game and being a big body and all of those things, and try to get better production from some of the other guys like McCole Hardman and Garrett Wilson by using that skill set to our advantage. So they break out into 2 different camps. Let's start with the less likely of the scenarios, which is, and not less likely, but just not my favorite, which is forget the production. Let's just go with the skills that Corey Davis provided. And the first option, and a popular option because of the fact that his contract is just so minimal, would be trading for wide receiver from the New Orleans Saints, Tre'Quan Smith. Tre'Quan Smith, if traded for, would really only cost a day 3 pick. We're looking at maybe a 6th pick swap or something along those lines. Ex-UCF legend, which is great, love my UCF alums, would come with a slightly below $3 million cap hit, but he is definitely the type of player that you look at that goes, you know what? He's not going to provide you with a ton of yardage in terms of over the regular season. That's just not his game. He's good for maybe 400, maybe 500 yards in a season if we're lucky. But when we look at all of the other things that he does so excellently, blocking after the catch is caught by another receiver upfield, being a red zone target and being able to be a big body in the red zone. He is 6'2", 210 pounds, and is an excellent blocker in the run game and in the pass game, and is still relatively young at 27 years old. It's a similar skill set to Corey Davis, just not as good or as polished of a wide receiver. Now, one of the things that you can definitely say is that Tre'Quan Smith hasn't really had the best situation around him in terms of being able to shine in New Orleans over the last couple of years, and maybe putting him with Aaron Rodgers can help elevate his skill set now that he's more of a developed wide receiver, because the early parts of his career just weren't all that great from his side, not from quarterback play, and towards the later part, the last couple of years, it's been quarterback play that's been holding him back. But it is an option that wouldn't cost us much. Is it my favorite option? No, but the New Orleans Saints would be willing to part with Tre'Quan Smith, and if you can get someone who come in to be wide receiver 5, can be good in the run game and in the pass blocking game for those short outside passes, why not? Moving on, we're going to go and we're going to stay in the NFC, and we're going to talk about wide receiver Michael Gallup of the Dallas Cowboys. With Brandon Cooks now going to the Dallas Cowboys, Michael Gallup seems to be the odd man out. And 3 years removed from an 1,100-yard receiving season, he seems to be the best case scenario for the New York Jets, if he can stay healthy, as a guy who can replace not just the production in terms of what we were expecting, the 700 to 900 yards from Corey Davis, but also all of the other things that he would have provided in the offense. He is pretty decent in the run blocking and in the pass blocking. He is a very similar height profile, 6'1", 200 pounds. And again, relatively young, 27 years old, and doesn't come with the craziest of contracts. Now, the only problem with going after a guy like Michael Gallup is that you're committing to Michael Gallup for a long time. He has 4 more years left on his deal, and while this year you would be taking on $1.6 million in cap space, you would be taking an $8.5 million cap hit next year, a $10.5 million cap hit the year after that, and then 10.5 in his final year in 2026. Is Michael Gallup really the type of receiver that you want to commit 4 years to? Who knows? But again, there isn't a perfect option out there. But Michael Gallup is a good option if you're looking not just for the short term, but the long term benefits of a player. Now let's talk about the players that are going to be not in any way, shape, or form a similar skill set to what Corey Davis provides, but in the same ballpark and in the same realm of production, or maybe even higher than what we were expecting from Corey Davis. And a fan favorite option right now, and I understand why, is Hunter Renfrow of the Las Vegas Raiders. Las Vegas seems to be he seems to be not in favor in Las Vegas. We know what McDaniel likes to do with players when he comes in. He alienates them, and if you're not one of his guys, you don't need to be on the team. And Hunter Renfrow seems to be one of those guys that is on the way out of the building, and he does his work exclusively from the slot, which is something, again, that Corey Davis did do, but that would obviously give the New York Jets the ability to keep Garrett Wilson outside full time, which I think is better for his skill set, but also give the New York Jets another really, really good, quick, and athletic option in the slot. Now, the one problem with Hunter Renfrow is, what's the deal with his shoulder? Is he healthy? He only played, I believe it was 9 games last year, but he is 1 year removed from a 1,000-yard season and 9 touchdowns. He's got excellent hands and could be a red zone target, even though he's not that big-bodied red zone target that we know that Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers love. He is quick, he is shifty, and he's a really, really decent yards after the catch kind of guy. So, can that be an option? Possibly. Is he healthy? Who knows? And I don't think it would cost all that much to go and get him. The other thing with Hunter Renfroe is that Hunter Renfroe would be here for the next 2 years. He has a $6.5 million cap hit this year and then an $11 million cap hit next year, which would again line Hunter Renfroe right along the same timeline as Aaron Rodgers and what he might do for the New York Jets. Now, the last option in the realistic options, and I think that this is the most likely scenario, is Hollywood Brown of the Arizona Cardinals coming to the New York Jets. He's going to come with a pretty hefty $13.5 million cap hit, but he would be bringing something that the New York Jets just don't have right now in the wide receiver room. It's a lot of projection with McCole Hardman, and he's been dealing with a ton of injuries, but Hollywood Brown is a true deep threat. He's a true speedster. He's a guy that you can bring around in on jet sweeps and all of these different things, and you would be doubling up on skill sets in terms of what Hollywood Brown does and what McCole Hardman do, but Hollywood Brown, I think right now, at this point in his career, is a clear upgrade on what McCole Hardman has been able to do in his career. He is 1 year removed from getting 1,000 receiving yards in Baltimore, a team that notoriously didn't throw the ball and couldn't throw the ball very well. He had 6 touchdowns in that year and was just absolutely phenomenal for the Baltimore Ravens. And last year, in that dumpster fire that was Arizona, he was still able to go for over 700 yards, and he provides the ability to play in the slot, to play outside, and just brings a different dynamic type of playmaking ability to the New York Jets as a former first-round pick. Now, what would it cost to get Marquise Brown? Who knows? Arizona is wheeling and dealing their players everywhere. We saw trades going, like just a bunch of people. 2 trades today. Isaiah Simmons and John Jones, I believe is his name, leaving Arizona for the Giants and Houston Texans. Marquise Brown seems to be available, and if he is, the New York Jets should definitely be in on it. Now, what are the unrealistic options? Who are the players that the New York Jets could maybe call on, but probably won't happen? Well, there's 3 names that come to mind. I'm going to go with the 2 super unrealistic options, and the one that I think is sneakily, is going to happen. I don't know if he's coming to the Jets or not. They should definitely be in on him, but I don't think that he is going to be on this team by the deadline, and if he is not, the New York Jets should be all in on him. Let's start with the less realistic options in T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd of the Cincinnati Bengals. When we look at the Cincinnati Bengals and their cap situation, they have $19 million in cap space this year and $55 million in cap space next year. Why are we talking about Cincinnati Bengals cap space? Well, because they're going to have to sign 2 players to massive, massive contracts over those next 2 years. Joe Burrow, I don't think plays the first week of the season if he's not signed under a new massive, and I'm talking about absolutely massive deal for the Cincinnati Bengals. And next year, you're talking about having to pay Jamar Chase. So the reality is Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins aren't both going to be on the Cincinnati Bengals next year. Will they part ways with one of their receivers a year early for draft picks, knowing that they're not going to be able to keep them around? Who knows? The reality is that maybe they can do some cap shenaniganery and say, you know what, we're going to try to keep all 3. But with what the comments that the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals made, saying that there isn't enough money to go around all of the players, I think he was specifically talking about T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd, and maybe come the deadline, one of those guys can shake free. But here's the underrated one, a player that I don't think is going to end the season on the team that he is on now, and that is Brandon Ayuk of the San Francisco 49ers. The San Francisco 49ers are going to have to pay Nick Bosa. He still has not showed up to camp, and they obviously want him there in week 1. And the expectation is that he's not going to play unless he has a new deal, and he wants to break and reset the market for edge rushers, and that totally makes sense for him. But they also are in negative cap space next year and are going to want to be in the market for a veteran quarterback. The Brock Purdy experiment, I don't think, is one that's going to last. And unless the expectation is that Sam Darnold is going to take the helm of that team, I think that they're going to be all in on Kirk Cousins next year, and Kirk Cousins isn't going to come cheaply. So where does Brandon Ayuk fall into all of this? There just isn't enough cap space. Trent Williams, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey are all making crap loads of money, and they already have a wide receiver one in Deebo. So if the New York Jets can add a pseudo wide receiver 1B to Garrett Wilson's 1A, they definitely should be in on it. And with the cap space that the New York Jets have over the next couple of years, you can align Brandon Ayuk's contract exactly with Garrett Wilson's contract so that when Brandon Ayuk comes off of the team, you pay Garrett Wilson. Now, is this a realistic option? Who knows? Probably not. But I don't know what it is about Brandon Ayuk. I feel it in my bones. I don't think that he is going to be on the San Francisco 49ers for very much longer. Kyle Shanahan and the guys in San Francisco are very smart, and they would more than rather, I think, accumulate an asset for a player that they know that they're not going to keep than keep someone around for a rental year on their own player, especially knowing that they're not going to be able to franchise tag him or keep him around beyond this year. Let me know what you guys think the best option is at wide receiver for the New York Jets moving forward. If you want to watch some more YTGO content, that's a different channel, Talking Jets with Tigo content, click on this video right here. Click the subscribe button right here if you haven't already. And last but not least, go Jets.